What is up, familia? Happy Saturday. It's good to see y'all on. I'm excited to continue the discussion because this book is something serious. I don't know about y'all, but like it's definitely on time. Again, shout out to Amani for helping us with the order of what books to read and really just putting things in alignment. I feel like it's been right on time. We are covering Winning by Tim S. Grover, The Unforgiving Race to Greatness. The previous recordings, I'm marking some of my cameras off today, and for sure, yeah, no worries, sis. But I mean, your camera just turned on, just a heads up. So you might want to turn it back off. But yeah, so we are covering chapters 8, 9, and 10. Obviously, as we have understood, the actual chapters are not titled that way. So we made sure before we hopped off last week, we knew what chapters we were going to be covering today. Chapter 8 is Winning is Selfish. And then chapter, which is honestly a controversial title. I like the way he wrote that chapter though. And then chapter 9 is Winning is Hell. Or excuse me, winning takes you to hell. And if you quit, that is where you will stay. And then the third um, is winning is a test with no correct answers. That's chapter 10. So we're going to be covering those three chapters. Winning is selfish, winning takes you to hell. And if you quit, that's where you'll stay. And then last but definitely not least is winning is a test with no correct answers. Um, Jason, I know you've been kicking us off, brother. Are you busy? Would you like to kick us off? Would you prefer me to take the reins today? How you feeling? How you moving? How you grooving, brother?
I can kick us off. Give me like 30 seconds, though. Give me like
30
30 seconds.
seconds. No worries. Um, but bet. I hope y'all are having a good one. I'm honestly extremely grateful for this environment and just having an ability to continuously, discuss concepts and situations that help us improve. Um, and as a reminder, what I'm saying? Like book club was really designed so that people can grow in their development because we understand the truth that your level of success will meet you at your level of personal development, regardless of you having that success attracted to you or you having to catch up to it. But I am grateful and excited to hear y'all's takes on the chapters. I know, Jason, you've been going through a week, bro. So obviously you'll cover the first two, and then I'll be able
No,
to
I
take.
can cover all three, brother. I finished reading in the time that we were waiting.
Okay, we just listen to music.
That's
Let's go.
why I said. That's why I said. Give me 30 seconds. I was like on
All
the
right,
last
bet,
page.
bet. I love to hear it. I love to hear
Yeah,
it. You got the
I'm not
floor.
gonna lie, bro. It kind of hit the last one, bro. Reading like the last thing because he kind of
Yeah,
literally was talking about the same thing I'm going through. So it's kind of crazy.
yeah.
Remind me one more time. I'm sorry. It
That's
was
okay. Chapter 8 was winning is selfish. Chapter 9
takes you to
is
hell is a test, no correct answers.
quick, you'll never stay there. And then the chapter 10 is winning is a test with no correct answers.
Okay, so we're selfish, takes you to hell is a test. Okay, cool. Boom, 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 boom. All right, winning is selfish. We'll start right here. I have a lot of things highlighted, but I like star the ones that I really want to
So
really
did
go
I.
about.
This week I'm like, we're gonna touch on the main ones that stood out to me. I agree.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The very first thing that I want to go over is how when we're talking about the ability to focus on yourself for all the right reasons. Selfish winners give to themselves so they can ultimately give to others, right? I love that because whenever you're in any type of situation where you actually have to be selfish, and it's important for you to be selfish, guys, like don't take it as a bad thing. And I'm starting to realize that as I read this, because how can you ever help somebody if you cannot help yourself, right? There's many times where I've had this conversation with Marcus where our cups will be full, and we have this innate nature, and this is why I love him so much. We're so generous with our time, our finances, our like our relationships with people, that like there's times where our cup is dry. like where it feels like we're like, where's the water at? You know what I mean? Like, and that's where it comes to be like sometimes we have to like back up because how are we able to give to people because truly we want to help other people? How are we ever going to be able to help other people if we can't ultimately help ourselves, right? Because we love to give to others. That's something that's like that's literally a fruit of the spirit is like being very generous and then to be a cheerful giver at that. But it's hard to be a cheerful giver whenever you have nothing to give. You know what I mean? And you still have that mindset of like I need to help others. You know what I mean? So that's why I started that to remind yourself to be selfish in times that you need to be selfish. If you're up and you're winning and you have it all and stuff like that and you're still being selfish, that's just greed. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? Like let's call a spade a spade. But if you're actually lacking where others are asking, then just be selfish in that moment. I don't have it. Learn how to move forward, right? And then another one, selfish allows you to limit who gets into your inner circle. When you're prioritizing your time and energy, you're going to have to make tough choices about who to include in your priorities. Your family, your friends, people who want to tell you what's best for you, people who tell you what you want to hear, surrounded by others who keep reminding you that they never see you, you're too busy, you need to relax. It's probably because you have too many friends and not enough allies. I love that. I love that. I remember when I first got started, there was a lot more of us. You know what I'm saying? And that's fine. And now, uh, since so we're so in tune because everybody wants to be a winner, bro. Everybody wants to be a winner, but not everybody wants to be a winner. Like I don't know if you're catching my drift there, but like it's true because you're saying that you do it, but your actions are not matching what you're saying. And that's like a real key part in it. People are always going to be like, you're doing your best. How do you know? How do you know this is my best? Like, do you see what I'm doing on the side? Because I don't see what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, it's about moving away from yourself, changing your own limiting beliefs and habits, like your own insecurities and fears, creating new expectations and values. It's about putting new demands on yourself and shutting out the noises that prevent you from acting on them. There has been many times, guys, where something would come up and it prevents me from doing something. But I'm at this time in my life that like nothing I've made a promise with Marcus that like nothing is gonna slow me down from actually being able to accomplish what we have in mind. Right? That reminds me, I need to catch up on details yesterday because I wasn't able to catch the whole call. So you can definitely go over that.
I got the notes too, so I was gonna
Okay,
say
cool. Bet. All right. Yeah, that's a sidetrack. Let's not get lost there. But I just reminded am I right now. Guys, there is always going to be something that's going to keep you from your goals. But ultimately, nothing can keep you from your goals. You're the only one that can keep yourself from your goals. If something happens bad in your life, if something goes on, it's how you react to it that is going to ultimately decide whether you're going to be a winner or a loser in your life. And that's why winning is an investment. Winning is ultimately investment. It's the result of selfish choices that empower your goals, separate you from your limitations and your insecurities, and create distance between where you've been and where you want to go. I already know where I've been. The past couple of years, I know where I've been striving, wanting, not accomplishing it, striving, wanting, not accomplishing it. That has been my life for like the past 2 years. All right. And I know that it's going to take me way more than that to get where I want to be. And I know what kept me from that the last years is because something would happen, like a tragic event in my life, and it would slow me down. And I would literally start to like backpedal. Right. But that leads me literally to the very next chapter. Winning takes you to hell. And if you can't quit, that's where you stay. All right. So there's one thing that this guy said, that Tim said, that literally blew my mind. He said, I cherish being the last call someone makes when nothing else is working. That's winning to me. And I thought about it. You know how amazing? It's like, oh, that's the last resort. Like like that person is because you know that person is gonna come through clutch no matter what. And sometimes you don't really want to ask that person because it's just like you'll feel bad or you're like, dang, I doubted it in the first place, or like, you know what I mean? It could be as simple as asking somebody for money and you're like, I know that they'll give it to me, but I don't want that. I don't really want to ask because that's kind of like a last resort, or like this person will definitely give his time or she will give her time, but I don't really want to ask her because I've asked her and she's always said yes, or like he's always said yes. So that's like the last resort. But at the same time, if you change the perspective, he saw it as when they call me last, I love that because that's winning. Because they know that no matter what, I'm gonna come through clutch. And that just changed my whole perspective on like being called because sometimes it's like I always thought of being called last was like getting picked last on the basketball team. Like, oh, well, I guess yeah, you can come play with us. You know what I mean? But he was able to like switch the narrative. And I love that. And then back to why going like your trip through all this adversity is going to be like hell. It's terrifying. By the second or third visit, you know what to expect. I love that. But what has to be done, resilience isn't built in your comfort zone, it's built in hell. And every time you go back, you're a little harder, rougher, less emotional, more scarred, and you made the journey repeatedly for years and decades, and you barely feel the heat. Year two, baby, I kind of feel like we're in hell. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm used to it now. I don't really have this doubt. I don't really have this fear. It's more of like, okay, this is what comes with the process. You know what I'm saying? And I'm ready to like really go in on everything that hell wants to bring. Like, bro, I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I don't fear no evil. You know what I'm saying? I got, yes, exactly, the level of acceptance, bro. I got the Lord that walks with me. His rod and his staff, they comfort me. There is nothing that I can't do. You know what I'm saying? I got the gospel of peace fitted on my feet and I'm ready to walk through hell. That's just how it is. You know what I mean? Hell is where most people stay, though. That's the crazy part. Hell is more people stay because it's an unpleasant as it may be, for many, it's easier to settle than there is to battle their way out, and everyone there can relate to each other's troubles. Ooh, we weight, finances, relationships, careers. Hell is packed with folks who are struggling with the same issues. So many, in fact, that it starts to feel right, normal. You fit right in. Doesn't doesn't they tell us? I mean, if your pastors are good, your pastors will tell you that the road to hell, it always feels like it's amazing sometimes. That's why it's like comfortable. It's like I love it here, and you know what I mean. Like, oh, it feels good, but like the pathway to heaven literally feels like hell. It's discomfort. It's hard. It's rugged. You know what I'm saying? It's the climb looks inevitable. It looks hard. It looks like how can I even accomplish that? That's real hell. But everybody knows something that's hard to get is actually worth it, right? And then instead of being propelled by the heat, I love this because we're literally going over a series right now in church. Shout out Pastor Bronson. One day you might see this. That'd be awesome, right? He's literally going over this series about how there's different types of fire, right? And it says, but instead of being propelled by heat, you can be frozen where you are. You have to embrace the negativity, the criticism, the cynicism of others so you can control how that fire burns. He describes it in three different ways. I don't, babe, what was the pastor's name that was going on? Renee, right? Pastor Renee. Okay, she was going over, she broke down three different ways that the Holy Spirit through God will move. One is a type of fire that will force you to move. It will burn you. Like something in your life will happen so dramatic that it forces you to make a decision whether you're going left or you're going right or you're going to stay on the path. And it's going to hurt. You know what I'm saying? Something dramatic is going to happen. Like there's nothing that you can do to stay comfortable, right? So that's what it says, where it says, but you have to control how that fire burns. Part two is whenever you start the picture like a flame. You know how a flame in a barbecue pit, like if you're about to cook some meat, the flame, if it's so freaking high, you're gonna burn your meat. Like you're not gonna be able to cook. Everything's gonna be charred. It's gonna be burned, right? That's the first phase. That's the first phase of you getting burned. The second one is a transition. That's how you become a new creature in Christ. That's how you become a new creature and how you handle things in your life, right? That's where it starts to simmer down a little bit. You can throw some types of meat on the grill that, you know what I'm saying, that you're trying to char quickly on both sides, blah, 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 right? And then finally, you get to the side to where it becomes like coals. This is where everything is good, where you're starting to walk in that abundance, where you're starting to know like who you are, where you're starting to find your edge. You know what I mean? It's the walk that you have through these fires that can inevitably take you further away from God, further away from your winning, right? Or is going to take you closer because you're going to understand who you are. And you're not just going to accept that, like, you know what, life's going to throw me curveballs. Well, I'm going to take a swing either which way. You're not just going to let it strike, strike, strike. Don't do that. You better start, you just keep hitting, right? That's what I took from that one. And the last one, right? Winning is a test with no correct answers. This is the one that I just read. Bet. Okay, right here. My job is to be prepared for no, no. Fear shows up on its own. Doubt has to be invented. I love that. Fear heightens your awareness, it makes you alert. Doubt is the opposite. It slows you down and paralyzes your thinking. Fear is about playing to win. Doubt is playing not to lose, to not lose. Guys, I don't know how many of y'all played like sports growing up, but I remember this. I like truly, I love how he put this because I remember playing basketball, football, and stuff like that. And I remember like we were so close, neck and neck in the game, but I was playing to win. Like I was cracking people, I was hitting, I was hard. Like you know what I'm saying? I was all in. You know what I'm saying? You can see some people that probably didn't get enough playing time or however you want to put it. They have this like doubt in the back of their head, like they just didn't want to lose. Like, bro, I just wanted to win. Like, I didn't care if we lost. I just wanted to participate and make sure I was there. Right? Fear is about the threat, whatever you have to face. Doubt is about you. Let that simmer real quick. Fear is about the threat, whatever you have to face. Doubt is about you. Fear is inevitable. Everybody's going to face it. How you respond to the fear, if you respond to doubt, that has something to do with you. It's nothing to do with the objective that is at hand. It could be something that like you don't believe that you're worth the situation, you know? Like you probably don't feel that you're good enough to be in the role that you are, you know what I'm saying? But ultimately that doubt it stems from you. It doesn't stem from anything that is here in life because God created us fearfully and wonderfully made. And doubt is literally the opposite of faith. So if you have faith in yourself, you can definitely have faith in God, right? Fear is pressure, doubt is panic. Fear says, I can do this. Doubt says, I'm effed, right? And then lastly, I wanted to talk about resilience is the power. If I get emotional, guys, I'm sorry. Resilience is the power to stay in the fight when your fear is telling you to run. It's the ability to see everything that can go wrong and still get control of what can go right. Resilience is knowing that when everything goes bad to worse and you have every reason to fall apart, you don't. It allows you to feel the pain and humiliation of loss and conflict and turmoil and still believe that you'll survive. Guys, I lost my dad this week. My dad passed. But guys, I have so much resilience and I know that I made a bond with my brothers and my sisters, my wife, and I made a promise that I'm going to do everything that I can. That's why I'm still here on book club. I'm going to do everything I can. And I'm going to have that resilience and that adversity to keep pushing forward because life continues, guys. Death is a part of life. And the first time I kept thinking of a scripture that Jesus kept talking about that, like, let the dead bury the dead. There is nothing that I can do worrying to bring him back. You know what I mean? There is nothing that I can do that is going to change the course of action that already happened. But what I can do is show up. What I can do is keep pushing. What I can do is bring what I have to the table. You know what I mean? Staying resilient as possible and knowing that like, hey, life happens. Resilient people don't act like victims, right? They don't feel sorry for themselves. They're not dwelling on what's happening right now. They're looking ahead to see how they can take control and change the outcome. And that's literally what I'm doing right now. I'm not trying, I am doing because I know that I can literally change the outcome. I don't have to have the same exact story that my family had and things like that. I can continue pushing on when life gives me, that's what I'm saying, right? When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. When life throws you curveballs, learn how to adjust your swing. But just because you lost does not mean you have to be lost, right? I lost someone, that doesn't mean I have to lose myself in the process. So I'm here and I'm very grateful for book club. And that's pretty much what I have for the three chapters that we read, you know? So I don't know who's next, but I appreciate it.
Boom, I'll take it since Imani's working. But bro, I just want you to know, man, your light and the resiliency that you are showcasing, I promise you, is not only giving hope to your family, but it's literally showing a blueprint for your children. Like it's real life, bro. It's that inheritance that God calls us to give, and it's more than just financial. I wish people understood this, right? It's like so much more about how you operate in the faith and what you choose to do throughout that process. Man, from chapter 8 with winning is selfish, bro, you literally took the biggest point because that's what stood out to me too. I literally started page 126 and talking about selfish winners give to themselves so that they can ultimately give to others. They give themselves confidence, courage, and clarity. They give themselves time and space and focus. They give themselves the freedom to win. They know when to put themselves first and they don't feel bad about it because their success fuels everyone around them, not just themselves. My uncle asked me a question today and it made me grateful because I know without a doubt what my answer was. And he said essentially, Mijo, people come down to being two different things. You're either a fountain or a drain. What are you? And I said, like, without hesitation, I'm a fountain. And then, like, just rereading and going over my notes before book club today, I was like, yo, that selfish winner is a fountain, right? You're literally pouring into yourself so that you can pour into others. And you're giving willingly and freely. And he talks about a selfish loser taking from everyone, and that's a drain. Not only are you taking what has been given to you, but you're not giving anything in the process. And bro, I believe being a drain is counterintuitive to what we're called to be in life. And I never understood people who are drains, and I just pray for them, you know. What I love, what up, he says, fact, you can't help all of those people until you can first help yourself. You must get comfortable with that. You can't create your own wins without prioritizing your own goals and dreams, right? So, like, just remaining selfish in the aspect of prioritizing your time and energy to make tough choices about who to include in those priorities. I also loved how he was saying that because when you understand that allies know you, see you, and respect you, friends sometimes feel threatened by your success, while allies will understand the success without it detracting from theirs. And like as a human being, we all struggle with this sense of envy or comparison, but it's that level of understanding like, okay, if I want to see people win, or excuse me, if I want to win, I've got to be willing to see people win. If I want to be celebrated, I got to celebrate, right? I think of Jesus asking us to serve one another, right? Those who are first will be last, and those who are last will be first. Like, are you willing? Shout out John C. Maxwell. He's right here, Mom. Um, but He he literally talks about like being the loudest in the back of the room. Like I don't need to be in the forefront. I just want to cheer and help people win and understand that in order to win, you have to learn to separate. And this is something that I've grown very comfortable with in today's season of my life because you're moving away from yourself and you're changing your own limiting beliefs and habits. It's not just a separation from people, it's a separation of who you once were. And I don't think we take that to consideration enough, right? You've got to overcome your own insecurities and your fears, and you have to create new expectations, standards, and values for yourself in order to become something you currently want. Creating new levels, power, and freedom to decide, act, and choose, right? He goes, you take the leap knowing you can't stay where you are any longer. And I think that if you recognize that if you don't take the leap and you don't do those things, you're going to stay there. I think that goes into where it talks about in as he's going about in hell. But before I get there, when you were talking about an investment, he says it's a big reminder, and I loved how he worded this because I'm not gonna lie, whenever I saw that winning is selfish, it kind of rubbed me wrong. Just reading the title, I'm like, dude, I don't think it is. But if you understand when you operate in that selfish mindset, it's not like you are cutting off all ties. He says collaboration and cooperation are essential. You've got to find people that are willing to pour in themselves. I'm confident in my brothers and sisters who are on this journey with me because I know that they will defend and pour in the time, energy, and effort into bettering themselves the same way that I will. And therefore, I can count on them growing with me. I can count on them developing with me. I've told every single one of y'all on this call from the time that I met you guys I plan on developing an intentional relationship and an intentional life with people that want to have a positive environment for our kids to be around and a good example to see and understanding to feel what it's like to not just win, but to be encouraged, to be supported, to be loved, to be held accountable, to be grown and developed as a person. It it requires it requires you to stay in a mind frame of it's bigger than me. And that's why I'll make it about me for a time, even if it doesn't make sense to you. Right? He talks about his family, and I feel like some of my family struggles in me being selfish at times because it requires me to stand by my choices and to be courageous about the backlash. I loved how he wrote it that, right? I understand that not everybody's going to understand my decisions, and it's okay. It's not for you to understand, it's for you to recognize that I made a choice the same way that he did. Okay. You want to say hi? Come on, say hi. Sorry, guys. It's okay, mom. But he says he goes, I agreed to apply to medical school and I prayed I wouldn't get in, and then I got in. And then he had to tell his parents, like, I'm not going to go to medical school. I literally got to go and do what I want to do, and I felt called to do this. And it demanded him to stand by his decision, separating himself from his family's expectations and devoting his life to the results. Because when you have the opportunity to separate yourself in this regard, you then have to show up and actually make it whole. He talks about the responsibility that comes with, right? If you're going to be selfish, make sure you get the results because MJ, Kobe, they did those things and he expressed it because they understood that the results needed to be got. There's no if, and, or buts about it. They're going to go and do that. Um, Boom. He says it's up to you to make that happen for yourself. There are no shortcuts. There is no fast track. The work is the work, is what I took from that. The work is the work. You're either going to put in the time, and he says the financial investment is worthless if you're not also willing to invest your time and effort to the end result, right? A lot of people try to put in their bread and are upset about the results they have, but they don't take into consideration the effort and the time, the resources that they put into their own day-to-day actions. Like you can't be upset at the results you don't have with the work you didn't put in, right? That requires you to sacrifice. That requires you to do things that most people aren't willing to do. Why do you think there's a 1% and a 5%? Because in order to get what people don't have, you have to be willing to do what people won't. Period, point blank. This is something I've always heard in personal development, but as I've developed in my faith, I've understood that it's a spiritual calling. Like you've got to understand that it's way bigger than yourself. And if you invest in yourself, it'll always be worth it because there are things that no one can take away from you. They can't take away your character. They can't take away your formal and street education, the things that you've learned, your skills. Like it doesn't matter what happens to you. It matters how you respond. And I think that's essentially like the synopsis of what I've got from chapter 9 on winning takes you to hell. If you quit, that is where you will stay. I highlighted or I start this on page 140, and it says, if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same results. So to get better, you have to put in new work and different work. If you don't evolve, if you don't find new ways to challenge yourself, you're a BlackBerry in a world of iPhones. And as we know, BlackBerries today are essentially non-existent. Like Kobe and MJ understood that they constantly and consistently elevated the work. You have to elevate everything. If you don't elevate, you remain the same and no change will occur. Never backed away from a difficult challenge. The never ending cycle of starting at the bottom and working your way back up. Like if every win doesn't owe you anything. And he said as quickly as you travel to the top, you can slide right back down, and it requires you to get up. I love how Kobe says it a lot, and I reference this pretty consistently. But in order to have a success, you've got to grow and understand, regardless of the result, whenever you put your head on the pillow and you wake up the next day, you've got to go and do the work again. You win, awesome, congrats. Doesn't matter. Next year, the championship's going to go to somebody else unless you put in the work. Oh, Papa, you're sick, huh? I might get sick, yo. This man, a little viral bug. Okay, but with every win, you learn more, you experience more, you know what can go wrong, and you know how you have to prepare for the return trip to the top. Um, I also resonated really big, bro, with understanding that your first trip to hell is terrifying, but the second and third time you go, every time you go back, you get a little harder, rougher, less emotional, and more scarred. And what I understand about scars, he talks about scars, like scar tissue is some of the strongest tissue you can have in your body. It recovers and it heals what has been wounded, and it secures it from being easily torn again. Like there's a reason why scar tissue is felt and different than your normal tissue. And when I like my scientific brain, having that analogy in my brain, and that visual in my mindset, like it's where I'm at in my life. Like as you said, bro, I'm confident now as I go through it. I don't have to worry because in the times where I was worried, I saw God move on my behalf. I saw him provide for me. And if he's done it once, he's going to do it again. Right. I've already been through some of the roughest and hardest days of my life. And if I survive, then I can get through anything if I put my mind to it. He goes, either you fight your way out of the hell you're in, or you start accepting that you'll be there forever. I'm gonna repeat that. You either fight your way out of the hell you're in, or you start accepting that you'll be there forever. I've heard it told to me like this from a mentor of mine. If you find yourself in hell, why would you stop? Like you've got to keep taking steps forward because the only way through is through. If you find yourself in a difficult situation, the best thing that you can do for yourself and for those around you is figure it out, right? It wants you to figure it out and fight for it. Without a decisive plan to escape, you'll remain there. So you've got to put intention and understand that you're going to have to battle your way out of the uncertainty, regardless of whether or not you are willing. It is a part of the process, and you've got to go and execute that. I started this on 146. You can pay the price of winning to succeed, or you can quit, stay where you are, and pay the price of regret. Totally up to you. You're going to pay a price though. And I refuse to pay regret, right? When you set unreasonable goals, it requires you the burden of responsibility of achieving them. Why do you want to eat paper, bro? Stop that. Eat your goldfish. Yes, eat the goldfish, not the paper. That's not for food. This is food. Yes, eat your food. Okay. You have to take action or you'll burn out. I'm not going to cover that anymore because Jason, I think you hit that right on point. The last thing I'll cover from this chapter is everyone has been through something so difficult or painful or challenging that it changed them forever. You have to rebuild yourself into something stronger. Not everyone will like how you've been reassembled. They see someone different, they see you have changed, and they're right. I am no longer who I once was, and I'm grateful for it, y'all. I have an unapologetic energy about myself because I understand my worth and I understand whose I am and the purpose that I'm operating on as I grow and develop myself long term. It's okay, sis. You see Mama? You want to say hi? No. Uh, Ma, you might want to. He's got boogers. Okay. Um, here. Sorry. No, it's okay. But yeah, rebuilding yourself into something stronger requires you to become something you're not. And if you're something that somebody doesn't recognize anymore and they're offended by it, then pray for them. I don't know. Like our goal is to change. You know what I'm saying? Like if you are gonna condemn me from turning into from a caterpillar into a butterfly, then I'm sorry, but I gotta fly. I'm going this way. You know what I'm saying? I've got to become something that requires of me what it is that I haven't been just yet. And if I'm willing to go and do that, doesn't matter whether or not I have your approval. It matters whether or not I'm willing to pay the price. And I'm willing to pay the price. Like I'm grateful for it because I've been doing the things, right? He talks about doing things that elevate you, right? I've been waking up even when I'm tired before 6 a.m. so that I can get my things done and have a more productive day. I've been getting up and operating in a consistency of establishing myself in the word rather than the world and making sure that I focus on the purpose that I have for my life rather than what it is that the comfort and the convenience that I want for my life. None of that matters, and none of that is going to get me closer to where it is I've envisioned myself and for my family. And it doesn't matter if they fully see it, they're going to benefit from it, even if they don't see it right now. I think that's the biggest point. Like you're either going to remain in this difficulty regardless and choose your heart. You know what I'm saying? Like it's going to be hard to stay there. It's going to be hard to get out. Why wouldn't you put all your efforts into getting out of where you've been or doing something different if what you've been experiencing is already difficult, period, point blank. When is it gonna test for answers, bro? I resonated something serious with what you said as well, bro. Fear is about the threat, whatever you have to face, and doubt is about you. Um, on where are we at? It was like Kobe had said something, and it stuck with me. Kobe felt it as well. He said, I have self-doubt. He said in an interview, I have insecurity. I have fear of failure. I have nights when I show up at the arena and I'm like, my back hurts, my feet hurt, my knees hurt. I don't have it. I just want to chill. We all have self-doubt. You don't deny it, but you also don't cap capitulate to it. You embrace it. I don't know what that means, but that's crazy how I didn't see that the first time. Let me look this up. Capitulate, duh. Seize it to resist an opponent or an unwelcome demand, surrender. You don't surrender to the doubt, you embrace it and you overcome it. Period, point blank. And that's what I understand. Sorry, I cannot believe I overlooked that. Anyways, you embrace it and you trust yourself to handle whatever you're dealing with. I don't trust myself still. I trust in God, and that allowed me to trust more in who I am and what I know I can get through because he's delivered me in a lot, and I've seen his word stand truth long term, right? In terms of resilience, just keeping going. When you have nothing to lose, you're free to do anything. Like if you're in a position where you truly have nothing to lose, like I think you're in the best position possible. Like if you don't have any money, like what else are you gonna not have if you go after something that's gonna get you to where you want to be? If you don't have the results that you're aiming for, why wouldn't you try a different approach? Or if you're not the person that you know you're supposed to be, why would you maintain the same level of identity if it's keeping you limited rather than abundant? You know, and those are things that played in my head. Resilience is what separates the fear and the doubt. So operating out of resiliency and overcoming the difficulty with endurance allows you to separate from a fear that is inevitable and a doubt that you can overcome. So you don't have to embody this doubt of, oh, can I go through this? You know that the fear is there because the best thing in life, honestly, is right behind fear. Like, yo, I'm not gonna lie, I was scared to fly over the Ocean. No, it wasn't the Pacific, the Atlantic. I was scared to fly over the Atlantic. I've never flown multiple hours over a body of water before. So I had to like talk myself through it to experience something I haven't had before. And I was able to vibe out in Dubai. And it was cool because it gave me an experience I never thought I'd had before. Um, but last thing I'll touch on is um, when you're truly resilient, giving up is never an option. It's not even a choice. He goes, I've been blessed to know many champions, and I'm not talking about superstar athletes. These are ordinary people who are anything but ordinary, whose resilience has allowed them to accomplish amazing things and face challenges and obstacles that seem insurmountable. They come from all walks of life and totally diverse backgrounds, but they have one thing in common. They never give up. Um, my mom has always taught me this concept of we bend, but we don't break. The wind might be heavy and difficult to embrace, but it's never gonna keep you into a position where you're no longer who you know you are. And you're not gonna be you're not gonna be limited to a lack of growth and a breakthrough that is inevitable. And that's where my faith holds on. Like I know that whenever we do persevere, that endurance allows for patience to complete its work and make me whole. Scripture, right? The peace that transcends all understanding will comfort my heart, even as I face many trials and tribulations of many kinds. I recognize that if I hold on to faith and hope, then there's no reason to give up because you will be delivered. God goes before you and is with you and he works through you. And we either operate in that truth or we don't, right? So that's what I focus on. And it's helped me sustain my mindsets of resiliency throughout my entire life so that whenever I overcome things that seem impossible to overcome, I have an opportunity to give glory to God because it wasn't by my own accord. It was literally my faith in Christ that got me through what most people would consider to be impossible. And what I've seen is like God all throughout the Bible just laughs at the word impossibility. Like anything is possible with him. That's what he says. So that's what I hold on to. But yeah, those are my biggest takeaways from the three chapters. Imani, I know you're working, girl. If you're able,
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go, but I
okay.
can't. I'm gonna be quick. So,
Nice.
okay. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was, I mean, obviously y'all covered this winning is selfish pretty well, but I loved how he talked about like if you've ever been called an asshole or selfish, it's probably because you have been focused on winning. And then he was talking about how Scottie Pippen faced a lot of backlash when it came to him like taking that time off to go to like get that surgery mid-season. So it was really cool that he took that backlash with courage. He even took the backlash from um, MJ, but they end up winning anyways. So it's like you have to be able to make those decisions and be 100% on them. Um, when this gives me like when he was talking about winning is unwavering, okay, I often consider people's feelings, and I think that it's because I'm being very what do you call it um, oh, what do you call it when you're like being like not complimentary, but what is it? The hospitality, like kind of the Southern hospitality. You're being hospitable to people and making them feel welcome. However, sometimes that ain't got nothing to do with it. Like the end result is not being soft when it comes to your goals and winning. A lot of times, I come off as very abrasive to people, and because I speak a lot of truth, and with me speaking a lot of truth, I don't always get to. Um, I have learned to not speak fully to make people feel comfortable with what I say, and even this, like I've learned that lesson, and I'm even learning even more to just say F it and be like, look, this is the real, this is me because MJ, Kobe, they did not care what their teammates were saying about them. They didn't care how they came off. They went hard and they were truly themselves. They won more than anybody. So that just goes to show, like, even talking about like in the later chapter when he talks about being in hell. How long do you want to be stuck in this hell loop for real? Um, But if you're going to be selfish, he says the end result has to make it worthwhile. If you're going to be selfish, make sure it's